In the series of videos of world's secret agencies and its operations, in our second video, we are going to see the part 1 of the operations of MI6. MI6, also known as the Secret Intelligence Service, is the UK's foreign intelligence agency. The name MI6 stands for Military Intelligence, Section 6. In the UK, intelligence agencies are typically referred to as sections. The other 5 sections are MI5, it is the UK's domestic intelligence agency, responsible for protecting the country against threats to national security from within the UK. GCHQ, Government Communications Headquarters, is responsible for signals intelligence and information assurance, and its mission is to provide intelligence to the UK government and military. DIS, Defence Intelligence Service, is responsible for providing intelligence to the UK Ministry of Defence and the Armed Forces. NCA, National Crime Agency, is responsible for tackling serious and organised crime in the UK. SISB, Secret Intelligence Service Branch, is a branch of MI6 that is responsible for collecting and analysing intelligence about terrorism. And the last one, JIO, Joint Intelligence Organisation, brings together intelligence from across the UK government and military. Each of these sections has a distinct mission and set of responsibilities, but they all work together to protect the UK's national security and advance its foreign policy objectives. MI6 was founded in 1909, during the reign of King Edward VII, as the Secret Service Bureau to counter the threat posed by German espionage. MI6 headquarters is located at Vauxhall Cross in London, UK. The agency was established to gather intelligence about foreign governments and their activities, as well as to protect the UK's national security. Before its establishment, intelligence activities were conducted by various government departments, including the Admiralty, War Office, and Foreign Office. The first person to lead MI6 was Sir Mansfield Cumming, who headed the agency from 1909 to 1923. The first operation, Operation Mincemeat, began in 1943, when MI6 devised a plan to deceive the Germans about Allied plans for the invasion of southern Europe. The plan was to plant fake documents on a corpse and drop it off the coast of Spain, hoping that the Germans would find them and be misled. The idea for the operation was originally proposed by Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague of the Royal Navy, who brought the plan to MI6. MI6 was responsible for coordinating the operation with the assistance of the Royal Navy and other agencies. The body used in the operation was that of a Welsh homeless man named Glyndwr Michael, who had died of eating rat poison. To make the body appear more convincing, MI6 outfitted it with a Royal Marines uniform, identity papers, and personal effects, including love letters and photos of a fictional fiancé. The documents planted on the body included a letter from the British General Harold Alexander to General Mark Clark, hinting at an Allied invasion of Greece and Sardinia, rather than Sicily, which was the actual target. The body was transported to the coast of Spain and released into the sea. The Germans did find the body and the fake documents, and they were initially convinced that the Allies were planning an invasion of Greece and Sardinia. The deception was so successful that Hitler himself was reportedly persuaded to divert troops away from Sicily and towards Greece and Sardinia. The success of Operation Mincemeat has been credited with helping to ensure the invasion of Sicily in July 1943. The operation was not without its challenges, however. MI6 had to ensure that the body was not damaged during transportation, and they had to plant the documents in a way that would appear authentic to the Germans. Another challenge was ensuring that the body would wash up on a beach, where it would be found quickly by the Germans, but not so quickly that the Allies would not have time to launch their invasion. To address this challenge, MI6 chose a remote beach in the coast of Punta Umbria, a beach in southwestern Spain that was known to be frequented by German agents. The operation also required the cooperation of the Spanish authorities, who were neutral but sympathetic to the Germans. MI6 had to convince the Spanish to turn over the body to the Germans without examining it too closely. The operation was kept secret for many years after the war, and the true identity of the man whose body was used was not revealed until 1996. Operation Mincemeat has been the subject of several books and films, including the 1956 movie, The Man Who Never Was. The second operation. Operation Gold, also known as Operation Stopwatch by the British. It was a joint operation conducted by CIA and MI6. The goal of the operation was to tap into Soviet military and diplomatic communications in Berlin, which was then a divided city. After Cold War, Russians switched from radio to telephone landline for their communication. The Cold War was a period of political and military tension between the Western powers, led by the United States, and the Eastern powers, led by the Soviet Union, from the end of World War II until the early 1990s. Operation Gold was considered to be the third one, where a tunnel has been built to tap the telephones of Russians post in the Cold War. Operation Silver was a similar one of MI6, where a tunnel was built in Austria, which was active from 1949 to 1955, to tap the landline communications of Soviet Russia in Austria. In 1951, CIA wants to regain the ability to tap Russian communication and discussed with MI6 of any possible plans. MI6 then revealed Operation Silver and suggested to carry out similar one and named it Operation Gold. US and British government got into agreement where US government will be responsible for financing and constructing the tunnel, and British government will be responsible to use their expertise and equipment from Operation Silver. Initial planning meetings were held at No. 2 Carlton Gardens, London. George Blake was one of the key members from MI6 who attended the meeting. George Blake was a mole in MI6 and was feeding information to Soviets. Blake alerted the KGB about Operation Gold and its whereabouts. The KGB decided to let Operation Gold proceed. Attacking and destroying tunnel would compromise Blake, and ensured that the information is not further leaked. In December 1953, the operation was placed under the direction of William King Harvey, who was working for CIA. The first project was the construction of a warehouse, which acted as a disguise for a U.S. Army station. The construction of tunnel was most challenging under the world's most heavily patrolled border. Below a busy street was an exceptional engineering challenge. The tunnel was equipped with highly sensitive microphones and recording devices that were able to capture even the faintest whispers from the Soviet military lines. The tunnel was dug using a specially designed tunneling machine that was able to bore through the soil silently, and the microphones and recording devices used in the tunnel were highly sensitive and advanced for their time. Throughout all stages of construction and in operational use, the entire tunnel was rigged with explosives, designed to ensure its complete destruction in case of any emergency. The tunnel construction began in 1954 and was completed in 1955, and the tunnel ran 1,476 feet long and was 6 feet in diameter. Blake continued to provide Soviet Union with detailed information about Operation Gold, including the identities of the other agents involved, and the techniques they were using to tap the Soviet military communication lines. To protect Blake, the KGB was forced to keep the flow of information as normal as possible. The tunnel was operational for 11 months 11 days, from May 1955 to April 1956, finally ending the operation in 1956, by Soviets destroying it. Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev publicly denounced the operation, and the Soviet Union used the revelation of the tunnel as propaganda to discredit the Western powers. When Blake's double agent status was eventually discovered in 1961, he was arrested and charged with espionage. He was found guilty and sentenced to 42 years in prison. However, Blake was able to escape from prison in 1966 with the help of other prisoners and MI6 officials who sympathized with him. He broke the window of his cell when other prisoners were watching weekly movie in prison. He made his way to the Soviet Union, where he was granted asylum and lived for the rest of his life. Overall, both Britain and Soviets claimed their success in Operation Gold. The third operation. Operation Fortitude was a strategic deception plan developed by MI6 during World War II. The goal was to deceive the Germans about the location and timing of the Allied invasion of Normandy. The operation was launched in 1943 under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Dudley Clark. The operation had two main components, Fortitude North and Fortitude South. Fortitude North aimed to deceive the Germans into thinking that the Allies would invade Norway. Fortitude South aimed to convince the Germans that the invasion would take place at the Pas-de-Calais, rather than Normandy. The success of Operation Fortitude was crucial to the success of the D-Day invasion. By convincing the Germans that the Allies would land at Pas-de-Calais, the German troops were dispersed, and their defenses were weakened at Normandy. Operation Fortitude involved a network of double agents, actors, and radio operators. Key players included Clark, who was responsible for the overall strategy, and double agents such as Juan Pujol Garcia, codenamed Garbo, and Elvira Chaudhar. The operation faced challenges in maintaining secrecy and ensuring that their fake radio transmissions were convincing enough to fool the Germans. Fortitude North was led by British Major General J.F. Maitland Wilson and was aimed at the German forces in Norway. Fortitude South was led by British Major General George S. Patton and was aimed at the German forces in France. Double agents played a critical role in the operation, providing false information to the Germans to reinforce the deception. Operation Fortitude was part of a larger Allied deception plan called Operation Bodyguard. The operation involved the creation of fake military units, radio transmissions, and other forms of deception to convince the Germans of a false invasion. To create the fake military units, the Allies used a combination of actors, inflatable tanks, and dummy aircraft. These units were built in secret, and then transported to the designated locations. Once there, they were set up in a way that made them appear as if they were preparing for a real invasion. The success of Operation Fortitude led to the success of the D-Day invasion, and the eventual Allied victory in World War II. The operation ended in July 1944 after the Allies had established a foothold in Europe. Operation Fortitude remains one of the most successful deception operations in military history. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to our channel.